Joey Taylor wanted to do something special and original and remarkable to celebrate how great it is to be Canadian. And boy, did he succeed. Joey has created the most amazing guitar you will ever see, and the story behind it is just as fascinating. Where does the idea of this come in?
I was working at Harbourfront Centre and I bumped into a luthier named George Rosani.
Guitar maker.
A guitar maker. And he was building guitars just using wood from his property, which at the time was in Greenbank, Ontario. And given the climate around the debate that was leading up to the referendum, I thought we were missing an opportunity to actually talk to one another across the country about all the different ways there were to be Canadian, rather than letting the pundits and the commentators really focus down to a French, English, Quebec, Ottawa kind of thing. And George's work with Canadian wood sort of inspired me to ask him, do you think you could build a guitar using pieces from every province and territory of Canada so we'd have an occasion to talk to one another? And he said, well, I'd love to give it a try. Each and every one of these pieces tells a story. And each and every one of these pieces is part of this guitar.
We went to the oyster festival and I noticed they kept repeating anybody wants shuck oysters to register. So I told him, I said, you go, Joe, go and try it, you know, you never know. No, he says, I can't do that. Anyway, I talked him into it and he went up and he paid his due and he registered. David Banks was the champion the year before. 3 times they tied. It was always a tie between David and Joe. Anyway, finally the 4th time Joe won him. And I thought the rink roof was going to fall apart. Everybody was roaring for Joe.
To get that piece that told this tiny little story from this tiny little place, it makes me realize, and it makes people realize, I think, that telling their story and recognizing, hey, things happen here in our community that we can be proud of and that we can tell generations to come. And that's sort of what it's all about.
I think that's what pulled me in, is that extraordinary story about an ordinary man that could be the everyman.
Born on Lennox Island, where the waters dance with diamonds, and nature casts a mighty spell. His love of life and family brought him slowly out his shell, and time would tell about a good pair of hands and a shaking knife, holding on tight for the time of his life. He could make a cut at breakneck speed, doing his best to protect and lead. A little slice of heaven and a pearl of hope. He opened up a tree and wouldn't let go. The legend of Joe Labo.
There are so many stories in this guitar from so many communities that were real gifts from those communities who wanted to be part of it and wanted to participate. I can't tell you about too many more of them, but I'll tell you about one because it's really quite spectacular. It has to do with the golden spruce. I don't know if you know this story. This is a remarkable tree, a completely albino Sitka spruce tree on Haida Gwaii that shouldn't have survived but lived for 300 years and grew to 120 feet tall. It was important to a lot of communities, but especially to the Haida community for whom this was a sacred tree, said to contain the spirit of one of their ancestors, and they called it Kitkias, the golden spruce. In 1997, a disgruntled logging scout wanting to make a point to the Macmillan Bloedel Paper Company cut it down in the middle of the night. The Haida people I met said that for them, this was like a drive-by shooting. It was a murder of someone in their community, and they vowed never to touch it. For 9 years, it stayed on the ground, but in February of 2006, a Haida carver named Leo Gagnon and an elder named Frank Collison took us into the forest and cut a piece for us. We took a sheet from that off the front. It's now the whole top of the guitar.
A brand new skin, a 6-string nation, with all the lines written on your face. There's no sign of a fall from grace. Fighting darkness against the grain, still letting light come in. Still letting light come in. still